And welcome back, everybody, on a Friday night. Actually, I am just out here chilling tonight because it's been a busy week and I got a busy weekend, anyways. But we still got to get these picks in and everything like that and handle our business here. So it's gonna be a pretty much a speed run today and everything, and we're gonna go ahead and get this thing started. Last night we had the Thursday night football game. Both me and Christian agreed that it would be the Texans taking that one. I have not gotten Colby to send in games like that on the daily. And yes, this is going to be another solo episode, but like I said, running through, taking care of business, you guys. And that's what the Jets did. Opposing mine and Christian's choices there with the Texans. But yeah, the Jets show up. Everything was on the line. Miles, I mean, Garrett Wilson, man, let's start with that. Garrett Wilson has that catch been able to reinvigorate the team, give them re-energize some hope? Maybe this is what they've been looking for. It's good to see that Devontae Adams is pulling through and actually already has maybe shown a little bit of effect. It was a little scary moment there at first after he took that hit, but he came back in and he played. He scored the game-winning touchdown essentially that put the game away. And on the other side of this, the Texans, man. I think it was Rich Eisen I was watching earlier today, and he said it plain and simple. And then D'Amico Ryan said it as well. So everyone knows really they can't handle a blitz for the life of them. And the Vikings are the team that showed you how to do it the first time. The Packers did it as well. And now the Jets were able to put, I think it was 8 or 6 sacks on CJ Stroud. And without having Nico Collins, he'll probably have him back next week. That's what I've been hearing. But I feel like Tank Dell, I have him on fantasy. So as a Tank Dell supporter, it was great to see that he finally put up 17 points. But I feel like he needed to have a bigger performance. Joe Mixon did have a great game. I had to play against Joe Mixon. Lucky me, right? And it was just he put on a clinic and everything. He was playing pretty much showing that he is still very valuable as a running back in this league. Imagine if the Bengals were still able to have him. I feel like that is another piece of this as well. Is I like to at least say a little spin zone there. Imagine what the Bengals would be like if they kept the guy and everything. It would have paid him, but that's the Bengals franchise for you. So can't wait to get into their game and everything like that, especially as we flip it over now to the Sunday slate. We got the Patriots going to Tennessee. Tennessee is a 3.5 point favorite. I think Mason Rudolph is playing this game. I haven't heard that Will Levis is back in, so I'm guessing Mason Rudolph is playing. I don't know how that get. I mean, this game's gross in general. I can see why Christian's taking the Titans. I'm going to take the Patriots just because they're coming off a big win. Maybe they ride that wave of momentum and beat a Titans team that's been struggling, a little inconsistent, having some very questionable moments. I mean, same thing with the Patriots, but at the end of the day, I would rather root for a Drake May. I don't think he's playing actually, so it'd probably be Jacoby Brissett. Oh God, this game is going to be rough to watch. So shout out to any poor soul that's going to be watching this one. I think is it really Jacoby Brissett versus Mason Rudolph? I mean, for the sake of the funness of this league, can we at least? I mean, if Drake May is hurt still, then don't bother. But man, that would have been a lot more fun if it was Will Levis, Drake May. But here we are, Mason Rudolph versus Jacoby Brissett. Give me Jacoby Brissett in the 3 point underdog. Might as well give that a chance. Give that a try there. Gotta remember Jared Mayo, still a defensive guy. Maybe he finally hones in on that, and the Patriots just put up a clinic on the defensive side of the ball and special teams. I would love to see a classic Patriots special teams moment here. All right, to the next one. I got Saints at Panthers. The Panthers are 7 point underdogs. I feel like this one should be easy, but the rumor has it that Bryce Young didn't do that bad. It's just been shadowed by the amazing rookie performance that we saw and everything else, and the fact that they still lost against the Broncos. So I'm gonna go ahead and just admit that this is gonna be probably another gross one. I don't know what the status is for the Saints wide receivers. I'm pretty sure it's still low. I was about to say I'm pretty sure it's not in the best spotlight. So I feel like it's going to be an Alvin Kamara versus Chuba Hubbard game because I'm pretty sure Jonathan Brooks is due to come back next week. So it's been a good time, Chuba. I hope you find a way to keep your starting job in the next couple upcoming weeks. But I'll root for you on this one, just because this could be a really could be the end of the era for me and my good partner Chuba Hubbard. He put me through. We're 6-2 or 4-2. No, yeah, 6-2. So thank you, Chuba. Got me through a tough spot. We're number one in the league. Probably not for long because it's looking like the collapse is coming, guys. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know if I've always choked under pressure for those of you that don't know. So, anyways, back to the game. Saints and Panthers. We got, like I said, another gross one, and yeah, we'll see what's going to happen. Who's going to be the quarterback of the Saints? I'm not really too excited to find out. I would rather just say Alvin Kamara is the answer here. Hammer that home. All right, to the Denver at Ravens. This one has been highlighted, as some people say, as an interesting game of the week. I can see why, because both their records are 5-3, and the Broncos pull this off somehow in some way. This game, that they would be a 6-3 team, beat the Ravens. I'm pretty sure they're slotted to play the Chiefs here soon. Are they a legitimate threat? That's what we're going to be having to ask ourselves here. I think Christian would also be here with me saying this is probably one of those games where the Ravens just handle business. That's why the line is at 8.5. I'm going to step in and say the Broncos have been playing some very good defense. The Broncos offensively haven't been the best, of course, but it's growing pains when you have a rookie quarterback. And there has been moments that they actually go through. And last I checked, this Ravens defense is struggling. So maybe Bo Nix shows up in a spot where, yeah, 8.5 points sounds pretty reasonable, but at least he keeps it interesting. I think that's where we're going to be sitting at here. So I'm actually going to take the Broncos as well. It looks like everyone on the podcast, as a matter of fact, will be taking the Broncos because Christian picked them as well, not the Ravens. He picked the Broncos because that is a big line, and I'm pretty sure he expects the Ravens to have that fourth quarter scare, the classic fourth quarter scare, I should say. So that is a pretty easy one to bet on right there. And Colby also used the Broncos as well. Just a little side hint to what his locks is. For those of you who don't know, I am going to be doing the locks today again on my own, but since everyone's all tied up, and I'll get into that in a little bit, letting them just enjoy their chance in first place one last time, because I feel like if I'm doing this on my own, talking myself into some good points, so maybe, just maybe, I can go on a hot streak here. So, but we'll get back to those locks. Like I said, I'm doing pretty good. I felt pretty good coming off a 3-0 week. But anyways, we're gonna go ahead and go back to the Ravens side of this. I mean, we know the offense is electric. They just went and picked out, well, who was it? Deontay Johnson. Do I think that's going to actually put them into the next step, next category that they need to be in? To be honest with you, no. I think you're just adding another receiver that can potentially give you a heartbreaking moment, if you ask me. I feel like you probably want to go out and get someone a little bit more certified, someone that doesn't have that red zone issue that he used to have. Maybe it was because the Pittsburgh offense was struggling, sure. But Deontay still had moments. I'm pretty sure he still took him some time at Carolina to get to the end zone and start flashing his skills there. Again, not his fault with the quarterback play. So maybe this is what he's been waiting for, is that he actually does have an all-pro quarterback throwing to him for the first time, I think, in his career. So it could mean bigger things for him here. Could be completely wrong because of that. One factor is that he hasn't probably had a quarterback like Lamar. So that could be an X factor, but at the end of the day, I just seen what he's put up before. I'm not too confident in what he's done. He's got a lot to prove, at least to me, if he wants to be. I mean, the Ravens need it though. So I mean, I've seen the meme where it was Rashad Bateman dropping that wide open pass, and they said that was the moment where they had to go get Deontay Johnson. And for Rashad Bateman, that's a blow, man. That does blow. So Zay Flowers still going to be amazing. Mark Andrews actually kind of getting a little bit of a resurgence. because I haven't heard as much of Isaiah Likely. I mean, he's still getting action, but yeah, man, this Ravens offense, when we already know that Derrick Henry is gonna do his thing. So it's going to be an interesting challenge for the Denver defense because, like I said, Ravens offense completely electric, but it's also the fact that the Ravens defense is a little sus. So going Broncos, taking the cover. On to the next one here. We got the Raiders at the Bengals. The Bengals are in no way this line is correct. They're saying the Bengals are 7-point dogs. Hang on, I'm gonna have to double check my lines here, folks. Um, in the meantime, while this matchup is being discussed and I'm trying to find the line, I would like to say that for this game, it should be a toss up, in my opinion. No, it is 7 points. Holy crap. Okay. Well then, is no the Bengals though, they're not dogs. They're home favorites, which makes a lot more sense if you ask me. All right. So let me forget everything I just said about the line being close. Now that is actually 7.5. That is insane. But give me give me the Raiders again, guys. I think this is a big line. I've seen the Bengals struggle, but first of all, my most important thing here is a lot of chatter has been going around about the Lions trying to make a move for a defensive lineman. If this is Max Crosby's last game as a Raider, at least cover. I mean, like I said, I'm at the point where I'm putting the Raiders at a last stand moment. Maybe it's unfair that I'm putting them on the spot 2 weeks in a row, and that's probably a lot asking of the Raiders. But again, this is a 7.5 point line. Last week I put them in this position. It was 9.5. So I'm going to go ahead and say maybe on these big spread games, they're going to cover. And so that's the angle that I'm taking here. I can easily see this game actually getting out of hand, but I gotta say, I gotta put money on the fact that maybe Gardner Minshew and or yeah, it's Gardner because Aiden O'Connell's hurt. So hopefully Gardner Minshew just comes in here and gives us a little bit of a game like he has done to another AFC North team in the Ravens. So it can happen at any moment. And with the offense they have, it's also playing against a very suspect defense in the Bengals. But at the end of the day, it's going to be how well does Joe Burrow do against that Raiders defensive line? I probably would suspect Joe Burrow to win that contest easily. So you know what? Once again, folks, I'm in a spot where I talk myself out of it. I'm probably going to also take the Bengals here. It's a lot of points, but to be completely honest, seeing that Colby has the Raiders down as one of his picks, it's totally fine. I think the Bengals might make sense here. So I'm gonna take those guys. All right. On to the next one. We got Chargers at Browns. The Chargers coming in. The Browns are 1.5 point underdogs. See, the thing is, this game is going to just be just a slugfest. I mean, these guys are going to be going at each other. Ground game is going to be the name of it all, unless both these teams actually decide to say, all right, let's pause it with the running backs. And let's see these quarterbacks let it fly. And both of them can do that, especially with questionable receiving cores. That would make this game 10 times more interesting. I mean, do I think that's going to happen? I think there's a 10% chance that the coaches will be like, all right, let's let it rip. Shout out to Jameis and the Browns. They did look a lot more revived as they came off of a big win against the Ravens, which is probably why they expect the Ravens to win by 8.5 because they're probably going to be coming in with a little bit of a hate boner. But anyways, we're going to go ahead and say the Browns here. They did finally persevere. They finally got where they wanted to be. They got the receivers going with Amari Cooper gone, might I add you. Cedric Tillman stepping in, and now they looking like they gotta answer at the wide receiver position. I don't think so. I think there's going to be still it's going to be moments of struggle for the Browns and how much are they going to really do in the wide receiver room, which is why I'm leaning like, yeah, Nick Chubb's probably going to be their number one go-to answer in this game, just like how Harbaugh has been leaning into his run game. However, if one of these coaches just says, you know what, let's just finally take the lid off this real quick, I can definitely see this game getting a lot more fun, a lot more interesting, and more importantly, it will probably work. I feel like it would work. It would be this team. That's what I'm saying. As I feel like both these teams are going to come in with strong defensive line front seven appearances. If anything, you should be trying to air it out over running. So you got to break your habit here if you're the Browns and Chargers. If you're Harbaugh and Stefanski, I miss you so much. But yeah, I mean, we got another great offensive mind, but Stefanski was also a good offensive mind. So it's just you got to see it through. One team's going to probably stick to their ways. I feel like that's what this game's going to come to. One team's going to stick to their ways the longest, and it's probably going to cost them in the end because they ended up deciding to run the ball more than they should, and because the other team popped off with their, random receiving core that it is. Um, in that case, which team do I expect to make that change first? You're talking about angry Justin Herbo. That's right, Justin Herbo, not Jay Herbo. I'm going to say Justin Herbo. He still doesn't have the full disrespect of me calling him by his full name. Still Herbo because he was mad and he's starting to see a little bit of his frustrations with the offense, but it's also starting to pay off a little bit. Like Lad McConkey having a big run on the last game. I feel like once he gets some more development, that would be pretty electric connection there. I really look forward to seeing what the Chargers can do here. 1.5 points, though, it just makes sense to go with the Chargers, in my opinion. I think the Browns, they played a good game. I just don't know if I think Jameis is going to be a little too predictable for Harbaugh and his defense. So give me the Chargers. All right. On to the next one. We got the Dolphins at the Bills. Okay. Bills 5.5 point favorites at home. Christian went with the Dolphins. Oh boy. So this would make the Bills 7-2 if they win this one, and the Dolphins would be 2-7. That is the story here. In my complete honest opinion, did not see this coming. Did not see. I thought the Bills would take a step back, losing a couple of pieces in the offseason, including Diggs. Uh, and I thought the Dolphins would be the premier team in the AFC East. Turns out they are probably in a little bit more of a questionable spot right now. They have to prove it after this week. Maybe they'll be in a better spot than the Patriots because, I mean, the Patriots are playing the Titans. You lose to them, that pretty much sets the tone to where you are for the rest of the season. And for the Dolphins' sake of things, I think if you can win this one, you'll be back in it, of course. But 5.5 points is a lot of points for the Bills. I think they'll win this game. I think they're going to have a good performance offensively, like they've been doing. Shout out Josh Allen. He, in my opinion, does rightfully deserve that MVP spot because the offense is just in a completely different, it just looks different and it's still being ran the same, different pieces, but it's still getting the job done. So I'm looking at this like, yeah, it's a lot of points for the Bills to cover. So I'm going to take the Dolphins only for the covering factor of this, but I can easily see the Bills winning and covering that line. I mean, not covering the line, but just winning. Um, yeah. And Colby's on the other flip side of this. I think he sees this as a blowout, which could be completely honest with you. If the Bills perform the way they've been, probably. I think they need to get a little bit more action out of James Cook. But besides that, yeah, I wouldn't blame them if the Bills just took the lid off this thing either. And if that does happen, then we have to start having the conversation of, are the Bills actually the second best AFC team? Because their main losses to the Ravens, sure, but do we feel like they're going to be the best team to beat the Chiefs and everything? When you have those new changes on offense, does that lead to anyone trusting your offense against a defense that on the Chiefs that has just been top notch all year round? And it's been the driving force to them being undefeated so far because of questionable quarterback play. Sure, you can say that, but it's winning games. And he's making winning moments, and we'll get to it later. So, Bills, are they the number two team, or are the Dolphins just actually this bad and everything 2-7 team? That's what's really on the line here. Could definitely see that being why people think that's a little intriguing. All right, we got two more 1 o'clock games. Luckily, these two kind of got a little more importance to it. I'm going to start with the easier ones. That way we can move into the more juicy one. I want to go with the Commanders at Giants. Giants 3.5 point underdogs. Commanders, I'm going to go ahead and just say yes. I don't see I can see this being a bit of a classic AFC East game, NFC East game, sorry. But at the end of the day, I'm going to go ahead and just say the Commanders just come in and take care of business. I'm not going to play around with that. I'm not even going to entertain it. I think they're going to come in, take care of business. It's just been a tough stretch and everything. I mean, people have to have seen the Giants had what that Colts moment. I forgot who coached the Colts when they did that little four-man punting formation and had the other half like it was they had that type of moment and everything. And Daniel Jones, rightfully so, was upset because he was a part of that clown moment and it didn't work as one would expect. So, yeah, I'm going to go ahead, give me the Commanders. Don't know what's going on with the Giants. Thought their play calling was supposed to be one of their strengths. And after seeing that, it's kind of discouraging. It's that simple. So, Commanders, 3.5 favorites. I'll take that. Cowboys at Falcons, though, is our last 1 o'clock game. And the reason why I wanted to save this one last is because, as many people know, this is a do or die game for the Cowboys. And will Kirk Cousins' 1 o'clock problems be resolved? I mean, he's been playing a lot of close games. He beat the Bucks, I want to say, at 1 o'clock. Yep, he beat them at 1 o'clock last week. Pretty soundly, I want to say also. Um, and yeah, he beat the Seahawks. No, Seattle beat him. So yeah, still a little questionable in the 1 o'clock slots. Dak versus Kirk, though. That's that's what this is all about. Which team needs it more? And these quarterbacks are almost nearly identical. It's just the teams around them are finally starting to show their differences. Maybe it's the fact that, I don't know, maybe you did need to get some new pieces in the offseason and refresh things as Dallas and not rely on a aging style of defense. And yes, injuries stink as well, and they're getting Deron Bland back. I'm pretty sure I saw that news not too long ago. And Micah's coming back, I think, in a couple of weeks, or safe to say maybe next week, but not this week. That's the key line here. The Falcons have Bijan Robinson, but more importantly, if Tyler Algier is going, I wouldn't be surprised if he scores a couple of them. He's actually a guy I'm considering picking back up on waivers. It doesn't sound like a bad idea when you consider the Dallas defense struggling against the run. So that's something I'm, ping-ponging in my head trying to figure out. Besides that, though, I really do like the Cowboys in this spot, only because Christian took them as well. Wait a second. Something's not right. I'm gonna go actually, I might have to 1 360 that real quick and go Falcons. Just because not be, well, mainly because yes, Christian picked the Cowboys and I wanted to mix it up a little bit, but more importantly, I can actually talk myself into the Falcons a little bit easier and everything. I think that's the another half of this thing. Also, elite kicking matchup here, Young Wei Koo versus Brandon Aubrey. That's gonna be, I mean, that's probably gonna come down to one of those guys, if I'm being quite honest. I mean, this line is at 3, so I wouldn't be surprised if that's gonna actually give anybody a push in the locks. In this case, oh, no one has them. So that's a potential push right there, folks, because I can easily see one of those two elite kickers coming in and calling game and everything while the scores are tied. Not to win it. Like I'm not talking like, oh, they're down 2, they're gonna kick the field goal and win it by 1. No. I'm talking we're both at 24-24. We're in overtime, maybe. I could definitely see this game going to OT. It's 24-24, and they got the defense stopped them. They kicked the field goal to win type of deal. So yeah, going with the Falcons though. I just gotta believe in Kirko at the 1 o'clock slot. I want to say he actually doesn't have the best record against Dak Prescott, so be on the lookout for that. All right, to the 4 o'clock slot, and we have The Jags at the Eagles to start us off for the 4 o'clock slot. And I'm looking at the Jags being 7.5 point underdogs against an Eagles team that might be finding, no pun intended, wind underneath their wings. So I'm going to go ahead and say, give me the Eagles. This game can easily get out of hand. The Jags are depleted as ever. They came off a very rough game where they lost a couple of receivers. They'll Christian Kirk. I'm pretty sure actually most of their starting receiving core is out now. Um, and then you add on to the fact that it's just been what's going on with Doug Peterson. A lot of concern with me. I have to ask Colby what his thoughts are on the Jags because this has just been a masterclass disaster for the Jaguars and what's been going on with behind the scenes. So especially when you consider the fact he just paid the bag to Trevor Lawrence and all this is happening. But on the flip side, Eagles, they're actually, like I said, getting a little bit of wind underneath their wings. They're getting a little bit of momentum going, playing against some rough teams. Um, but they're winning games that you expect them to win. So it's kind of hard to talk your talk to a coach where he's actually winning games in a league where it's almost hard to win every given Sunday and everything. So go ahead, give me the Eagles. I think they're going to handle business here. Yes, it's a large line, but I'm not threatened by Trevor Lawrence and his receiving core right now. So give me the Eagles. On to the next game. The last three games here in so the other three games in the 4 o'clock slot are actually really good. Um, all of them have 3 point spreads or less than, I should say, 3 point spreads. So let's go ahead and start. Let's just start our way with an interesting home underdog with the Rams at Seattle. Seattle is 1.5 point underdogs right now. Christian also picked the Rams. Interesting. Christian, I think, is finally flipped off of his McDonald pick there. I can easily see I can easily see him saying that he wishes that they never left and it's starting to look that way as well, where maybe it was best for both worlds for both people to stay, but some people sometimes you got to move on. And in this case, you got to move off of your take of the Seattle Seahawks, and I agree with that. I see the Rams as 1.5 points, a little bit too easy for them. So give me the Rams. I feel like that's a little bit of an easy one there. If you think about it, they got the offense for it. We've been hearing about this defensive struggle side of the ball for the Seattle Seahawks. And on top of that, you're slowly seeing a meltdown in the quarterback position with Geno Smith. I mean, he's playing solid, good football. Don't get me wrong. He's playing solid, good football. But at the same time, you also are getting more and more of these moments where you're seeing him turn around and be like, what the hell are we doing? Like, why are we doing this? Blah, blah, blah. Like, okay, calm down, big guy. You're not, all of a sudden the guy. I think you are a transition guy at this point. And maybe McDonald is as well. Maybe they're both transition guys as they get ready for a different era. Um, but right now we're in the present, and of course, Gino is trying his best to keep his job and make sure he keeps his team in contest for the playoffs. So I can easily see why. And this team can make the playoffs. They should be a playoff team. But if they're one of the teams on decline, if I'm being completely honest, I can see them being the ones out. You're telling me right now, out of the four NFC West teams, you would like the Seattle Seahawks to come out of it. This is going to be that game where that proves it. I kind of like the Rams more than Seattle. Um, yeah, that I think that's where it all boils down to right there and everything. It would be a huge game, a huge upset, in my opinion, even though it's only 1.5 points. Huge upset if the Seattle Seahawks pull this off, because I think a lot of people are going to be doubting them just because of how strong the Rams offense is. And we've been hearing the question. I don't know what's going on with Puka Nacua and everything. That's a very interesting spot, but be on the lookout for any news about that. And hopefully he'll be all right and can play a full game, because Seattle is no joke. You're in the Northwest, Pacific Northwest, man. You gotta be careful. You never know. A little bit of rain can make that turf a little slick. So be careful up there. But at the same time, give me the Rams and everything. I feel like they're going to put a little bit more than just 1.5. All right. To the next game, it's going to be the Bears playing at Arizona, another road game for the Bears here. They're going to be 1.5 point road dogs. I kind of can see that, but at the same time, disagree. I think the Bears defense was really solid. I don't see the Cardinals really having their way like they like you think they would, unless it's going to be another fourth quarter. What the heck happened here? Last big mistake, but I don't think the Bears are going to do that. I think this defense is going to be coming in, especially their back end on the DB side. They're going to be coming in a little bit hungry, a little pissed off. So I can easily see the Cardinals being in a little bit of trouble here, the Bears being underdogs. I'm going to take that. I think Caleb Williams, the only thing here is you're playing, it's going to be an interesting quarterback matchup, in my opinion, because Caleb Williams, he pops off in like the late third quarter slash start of the fourth quarter, almost like a little, actually, very much like Tebow. He's playing more Tebow than Bo Nix right now. Bo Nix is just playing like a discount. I don't even say breeze. He's just playing I don't know what. He's just basic, in my opinion, a little basic right now. But you got to keep it vanilla for the rookie sometimes. But back to this rookie though, he's keeping it a little more interesting. He's keeping it like Tebow, where it's all kicking in the fourth quarter, late third quarter. Sometimes it kicks in early and it's consistent throughout the game, sure. But for the most part, this guy's been doing some fourth quarter miracles and who knows that you can I've seen Tebow have his it can be fun for a long time. It all depends on how you handle and build around it. Um Eberflus and McDaniels, probably not the same company you want to be in when you hear that sentence as a Bears fan and hearing about that as your coach. But Eberflus's defense has been, like I said, solid for the most part. They kept them in that Commanders game, just a heart-wrenching, heart gut punch of a finish of a game. As a Vikings fan, I couldn't believe it, to be quite honest with you. You were the only break we really had, if you think about it. So thank you, Commanders. But at the same time, I see the Bears getting their lick back here. I think they're going to jump right back into the win column, and I'd be more surprised if they did not, to be quite honest. All right, in the last 4 o'clock game, boy, oh boy, this is the one that a lot of people have been highlighting, circling, and it's just been completely it's probably overshadowed the Sunday night game if you ask me. If anything, it will probably play more of a role and it'll lead into the Sunday night game a little bit too. The NFC North getting all the action from four o'clock all the way to the end of Sunday. So in this NFC North matchup between the Lions and Packers, and the Packers being home dogs, 2.5 points. Um, a lot on the line here for both sides. Let's just get it out the way now. If the Lions win this game, it's probably everyone's going to be saying, dust off your hands. It's a done deal. This is the Lions got the NFC North. The Vikings and Packers are now just playing for the number one wild card spot. Like who's going to come out, or maybe they both get a wild card spot. But right now it's those two teams because I'm pretty sure the Packers only lost to us and maybe another AFC team. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think it was the Eagles. So yeah, they also actually have two conference losses. Vikings lost to the Rams and the Lions. Those are two conference losses, and the Lions lost to, I think, an AFC team. It was really early. No, it was the Bucks. They lost to the Bucks. That's right. So that's a tough one, man. I mean, right now both teams are struggling conference wise. I thought that would be a little bit more decided there, but back to this. Packers in a big spot. This is a game where I wish I had them here and everything, because to be quite honest, I don't want to pick this game because whoever wins it, it's going to be everyone's going to be, cheering them on as the NFC North favorite, probably potential NFC favorite. And this is the NFC favorite game and everything. That's why I would love for this to just be a little bit. I feel like leaning Packers here would make it a lot more interesting and gross in the NFC North, because then it's like, okay, especially when we talk about the Sunday night football game, if the Vikings come out of that as a winner, then you're like, okay, these guys are all locked in at 6-2. The Lions beat the Vikings, but the Packers beat them, but the Vikings can beat the Packers. So you're just stuck in you got this little loop going on here. And then it's like, how can the Bears get their way back into it? So NFC North is going to be in a very fun spot if the Packers can pull this off, like I said. And maybe I'm just going to go with that as my reason to pick them. To be quite honest with you, if Malik Willis is playing this game, don't see them winning. This is a game where you need probably to be full strength. This is a full strength, all in game. Unless your name is Josh Jacobs and you just completely decimate the Lions. That's probably the only, again, the X factor that you can never forget when you're talking about the Packers is Josh Jacobs is still back there somewhere haunting the backfield. So be on the lookout for a Josh Jacobs touchdown if you're being completely honest from me and everything. Also, shout out to that scary and also slightly concerning trade, whoever came up with it. I think it was, I can't really actually, but it was someone on ESPN, and it was Jahmyr Gibbs goes to the Browns, and the Browns send over Myles Garrett, but the Lions also send over like a couple first round picks, which in my opinion is insane. First of all, you're already giving up Jahmyr Gibbs and you want to give up a bunch of picks. I mean, he is a running back and Myles Garrett is a defensive line beast. Like I said, the Lions are one of those teams that are going to be that everyone's saying is on the hunt for defensive linemen. Is it Myles Garrett? Is it Max Crosby? Which one would you pick as an NFC North person? I would love it if they did nobody. I would love it if they went and got nobody and they just say, you know what, we're content with who we got here because they're asking for too much. I'm hoping for teams to be like, no, that's too much. You got to start sharing off, breaking off some pieces of that offensive roster. That's the case, and that's why they're not moving anywhere. Completely fine. Love it, Dan Campbell. Totally respect that decision because that leads to me to say that there's still some hope. There's still hope and everything. If they were to make a trade with any of those teams, the Raiders or the Lions, it'd be interesting. I mean, the Raiders or the what's it called? Oh, man, I lost my train of thought. Raiders or this is the problem when you're by yourself, folks. You lose your train of thought really quick, and then you have to find it all over again, and it's a little bit not fair. How about they just go for somebody? Oh, it's Max Crosby. Oh, I already said that. Anyways, we're gonna just keep going. Um, yeah, I really do think that. Oh, it's the Browns. There we go. Myles Garrett or Max Crosby. But why not go for somebody like Cameron Jordan? I would be completely fine with that as well. That'd be a good one as well for them to probably a lot cheaper, even though he's been a homer and he's probably. But if you can convince him somehow that this is going to be his chance to win a ring and win it back in New Orleans still, anyways, why not? And everything. That's all I'm pitching to you is a why not. All right. So yeah, going Packers, and we're leaning into the Sunday night football game. We got the Colts at the Vikings. This game got flexed into Sunday night football, baby. It's the Vikings' first primetime game if you don't want to count the London game. Uh boy, oh boy. What a time. Oh wait, no, we played on the Rams, so a little rough start there if you think about the primetime struggles. But let's not think about that. Think about the good times here. Christian chose the Colts. Screw you. But I don't blame you at the same time. It is a big line when you're considering the Vikings and Sam Darnold and just the last 2 weeks of work that we've seen. Also, yes, I would have loved for Anthony Richardson to start this game, but like Anthony Richardson, I'm tired of his stupidity, and he deserves to be on the bench as well. So Shane Steichen put in Joe Flacco. So don't blame Christian for rooting for his guy, Joe Flacco here. I'm obviously taking my Vikings, though. I mean, a two-game skid since the bye week. Right hand up, called it, by the way, folks. Right hand up, called that one. Um, Give me a point for that because I said it. If we lose game one on the Lions, we're gonna go on a little bit of a skid here, and we need to get pick. We gotta pick it back up. This is the time where we pick it back up. You lose this one, Sam. I think this is officially where people are going to start pointing you out that yes, you are a solidly good quarterback, but you're not. You're just back to the same old guy that we expected you to be. Almost like a Geno Smith. But I feel like if you win this one, you can still have a chance to be considered special still. You still have a chance to get that redemption factor, you know, get that Kirko effect. But until then, we gotta prove it. You gotta win this game. Is 5 points a lot to cover? Yes, absolutely. But I'm putting it down because I also get to put down my Vikings as a choice. Love writing it in. So On the Colts side of things, this offense is going to be hopefully revitalized. We'll see what they do. Jonathan Taylor's probably going to have a field day. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to be sitting here, probably going to be the biggest Jonathan Taylor hater out there because he's probably going to eat, and Joe Flacco is probably going to eat as well. This Vikings defense, what looked to be a premier defense with Brian Flores, and it's doing all these wonderful, amazing things. We just played against two pocket passing quarterbacks in Matthew Stafford and Jared Goff, where they don't like to run that much and they're just sitting back chilling or having a good run game. Guess what? We're going up against another offense that has that exact same formula. So what are we gonna do? What are we gonna? Are you gonna find a way to get past it? Is the Colts gonna be able to handle it? Or what is your mind thought here? What is your thought process, Brian Flores? So that's my thing on this game is how are the Colts gonna handle whatever Brian Flores is about to be throwing at them? Oh my God, Nas Reed, you gotta get it together, my guy. I don't know what that was, but you just gave the ball. That was like a dumb turn. Sorry, folks. I'm also watching my Timberwolves, and that was just a ridiculous turnover by Nas Reed at home too, home court, by the way. So everyone's probably like rooting for the guy. So big, little bit of a letdown there. But anyways, back to the league. We got one more team left. And this game, they're saying it's probably going to be a lot more one-sided than you think it's going to be. They got Chiefs by 8.5 points. Heck no. Give me the Bucks, first of all. That's an easy one for me. Give me the Bucks. And go ahead and say that yes, they have no receivers. Come 100% correct about that. However, they got Baker. I think they're still going to have a chance here. I think, Baker's going to, he came out there swinging against the Falcons. He still had a chance there. I think this is going to be the same spot where he's going to try and go out. He's got to prove himself. Well, he doesn't have to prove himself, but he's going to prove to the league that he can still fight with the best of them. He's still going to make the Bucks look respectable. And even though they're just a depleted team in general, the Chiefs offense has been nothing of special yet. If this is the game where we finally see them stop using Xavier Worthy as a gimmick player and they actually start, utilizing D Hop a little bit more because they do get an extra game of game plan, extra day of game planning. So maybe they finally get some more plays in for D Hop and that opens things up for Worthy and Kelsey and all that jazz. But I'm looking at this as I think the Bucks and Baker are just going to make this game respectable. 8.5 points might be a little too disrespectful for Baker, but who knows? It could be that simple of a game, to be quite honest with you, for the Chiefs, and they just take this thing apart, and the Bucks just are so depleted that they can't keep up. They can't even play. Like, yeah, they can't even keep up. That's quite honest, all that can happen. But I just think I think it's just my heart to say Baker's got this, and my heart, I can just tell Baker's got this. So give me the Bucks, man. Give me the Bucks. All right. That was it. That was the Sunday slate. The dues this week, I don't have the current numbers, and so didn't he, but he just had a hunch that it's going to be Tyreek, Scary Terry, Saquon Barkley as the dues list this week. And as mentioned before, let's go ahead and get a little lock rundown. This is probably the part that I know Colby has probably been looking forward to, because it's the only thing I ask for him to do. No pressure on the guy, of course. So Colby, last week he had the Colts, the Seahawks, and the Saints. That is 1-2. Christian had the Packers, the Jets, and the Cowboys. That went 0-3. The Packers, here we go. Hang on. I'm gonna just make sure I get these all correct and everything. So that way I don't hear it. And that's the thing, guys. I just don't want them to be like, oh, that's some BS. Hang on. I got you right here. The Jags did cover. The line was 3.5. The Jags covered. The Jets did not win their game. The Jets did not win at all. I'm pretty sure, yeah, the Patriots won that game and they were underdogs by 7 points. And the Cowboys also did not put up a fight against the San Francisco 49ers. So that put him at 0-3. And your boy, like I mentioned earlier, went 3-0. I had the Lions, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Eagles all covered their lines. And now we are sitting at almost a three-way tie. Technically, I have the half game on them. but I know they don't like technicalities, so we're just going to call it a tie at the time being because we are almost at the half. Actually, this is the halfway marker, so all tied up, leading into the midpoint of the season. Of course, they're not here to hype it up. I have to do it all myself, but it's cool. It's cool. I feel like we're gonna have some guys back eventually and stuff like that. So it's been trialing times for the podcast, but also because of the holiday and Halloween, I didn't want to put nothing on anyone's plate. I felt like this was just going to be another solo adventure, just get it out the way. Hence why we're doing it tonight. Anyways, so let's go over what we got here. I got the Bills, the Broncos, and Raiders for Colby. Those were his three picks. I went with the Vikings, the Bucks, and Commanders, and Christian took the Chargers, the Saints, and the Cardinals. Um, and these guys, they got their picks in sent to me earlier this week, actually. So they got the first dibs. They didn't intercept with each other. So they got their first three picks in order. And that left me to pick the leftovers. I think that's pretty fair if you ask me. And so that is the NFL slot and everything, guys. Some final thoughts for you. I guess I'll fill in the final thoughts gap for us this week. Let's see, what can I be cooking up here? First things first, the NFL, the NBA, first of all. I mean, I have never paid attention to the NBA this early and this much, but yeah, shout out to the NBA. The Nuggets and Wolves are playing right now. Very both teams on rocky starts, to say the least. Both of them 2-2, so this is a big game for them to see which team's in the right direction. I think the Nuggets are 2-0 on the road and everything. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens here. Rooting for the Wolves, obviously, and rooting for the fact that this Anthony Edwards led team with Julius Randle now starts gelling together sooner than later, you know? Uh, and then outside of that, oh, man, Cavs are looking interesting. The Celtics are still the Celtics. I just watched them handle the Hornets while we were recording today. Um, Lakers, JJ Redick and the Lakers, new vitalized offense. They're actually looking pretty good. Uh, let's see, did I mention the Cavs? Yeah. Oh, here's the big story here. Me and Colby were talking about. We lost Paulo. That's going to be another final thought right there. We did lose Paulo and everything. So I think we're not gonna see him until, February, March, if that. I think I would love for him to come back, but I just think his odds are unlikely at this point. And yeah, those are going to be my two final thoughts because Paulo is a big topic on this podcast. So we'll be rooting for Paulo a speedy recovery so we can watch him some more. He was already off to a amazing start this season. Kind of stinks. I know Colby's probably, down in the dumps thinking about the Magic and how he has to remove him from the tiers list a little bit lower now. However, my Pistons probably don't deserve to move up anyways. I need to find a new team for those NBA tiers list. So that's gonna be my final thought, actually. That's the last final thought right there for you folks. Going back, all three NBA takes. Well, sure, shout out Dodgers, I guess, but I could care less. Be quite honest with you, as a Rockies and an Orioles fan, I could care less about that World Series. So yeah, all NBA here. I got like I said, Nuggets and Wolves on, big game. Hoping Paulo has a speedy recovery and hoping that I can find myself a team for Colby's tiers list before he comes back. The root for that can be a fun dark horse. That's not the Beam team. We already root for the Beam team here. So altogether, feel like that should make some pretty good stuff, right? I think so.